recipe. Today we are going to be doing a tres leches cake. It's a very popular dessert in the Mexican culture. This is actually the very first cake I learned how to make. Granted, it is from a cake box, so it's really, really simple. It was basically the ingredients that were the most important part of this recipe. A lot of people asking about what I put in my tres leches. I will go over that with you. I will also go over what I do for a topping. It's a really cool, simple, easy recipe. You go ahead and make a cake box, super simple. You have your 3 eggs, 1/3 cup of oil, 1 cup of water or milk. You mix it up and you nice and bake it. Once you have that baked, you're just gonna add your 3 ingredients, pour those in, let it cool overnight or a few hours, put your topping on it, and you're ready to go. Tres leches is a good and bad thing for a lot of people. A lot of people have a texture issue with it. A lot of people don't really like the texture of it, the mushy bread. It just varies. It all depends on what you're actually looking for. A lot of people really, really love this recipe. I personally, my family loves it. They love when I make it. It's a very simple, easy recipe for me to make. It's a very simple ingredients. We have about 3 ingredients just for the liquid that goes on top. A cake, everybody can really make a cake. It's really easy. And then it's a quick dessert for you to take to a quick party. I know everybody's going back to school and I wanted to do something, a little treat that I really enjoy, my family really enjoys, and it kicks off our new school year starting this week. So we're super excited. Thank you so much for joining Camp Puga. We are going to be announcing, I will be putting the winners for the giveaway for the Bear Kitchen, for those box cookie giveaways that we will be announcing. So I will go ahead and put them in the Camp Puga page. We're super excited. Congratulations to those winners, and we can't wait to do our next giveaway. So let's go ahead and move on. You can see the lighting is a little bit weird today. I decided to film at dusk, so the sun sets on the back side of where we are. So I definitely have a little bit of weird lighting, but by all means, I wanted to make sure I shared with you this recipe of mine that I absolutely adore and that you can do at your home too. So let's go ahead and get started. So the ingredients, other than using a box cake, again, you're gonna use any flavor you would like. I always use a yellow cake mix. I use Duncan Hines. I almost always use 2 boxes because I like a thick cake. I don't like for it to be really thin. That way also the absorbment of the liquid, it absorbs just enough that that texture is not too dense of a bread, but it's also nice and juicy. I don't like to use the M word, moisture, the short version of moisture, because I don't like that word. The moisture in it is well, but I don't like using that short word of moisture. So I definitely like to do a thick cake, and that helps me out a lot. So the ingredients that I'm going to be using for the liquid is I am going to be using 1 can, 12 ounces of evaporated milk. I am going to be using sweetened condensed milk, and this here is a 14-ounce can. That's weird, 14 ounces. This one's 12. All right, we'll go with it. I think this one just turns out to be a little bit fatter. And then what I do is I add 1 cup of either 2% or whole milk. I combine those 3 ingredients for my liquid. So let's go ahead and do that first. So these ingredients, your whole recipe probably will cost you about $5, and it's a quick, easy recipe that everybody's gonna love. Let's do our condensed milk. This is my absolute favorite. I like to use this in a lot of my recipes. And as you can see, I do have another one, and that's gonna be my little secret to the way I do my recipe a little bit different. Alrighty, so I have my condensed milk here. And then last but not least, I am gonna put 1 cup of regular whole or 2% milk. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and whisk this all together until it turns into all liquid. You'll feel the solid in there from the condensed milk. You're gonna wanna whisk it or mix it with a spoon until everything turns into a nice liquid. So the cake I decided to do is probably a 9 by 12, 2-inch to 2.5-inch deep. It's a pretty good size. I like to use that. That's my basic pan that I like to use for everything. Now that you have everything nice and combined, I'm gonna go ahead and put this aside because I'm gonna do my next step. So this is another very important step of this recipe. You're gonna wanna make sure you cool your bread completely. You don't want it to be warm. You don't want it to be room temperature would be ideal. If you can stick it into the fridge a little bit, that's great. But you want it to make sure it's cool completely, almost to the touch where it's fairly cool. That's exactly what you're gonna look for. Now the next thing you're gonna do is you can't just go ahead and pour your liquid right on there. It's gonna absorb, but it's not gonna absorb completely. So a trick to do is to grab a fork, and with the fork, you're just gonna go ahead and poke a whole bunch of holes in there. Don't really worry too much if the crumbs that start to come out of the thing. If you make too big of a hole, you're gonna cover it all completely. It doesn't really matter. Just make a whole bunch of holes. And once you think you've made enough, keep going a little bit longer. You'll start seeing it flick up a little bit. Just push it back in. Don't worry about it too much. Alrighty. So once you have that set, what you're going to go ahead and do is now you're going to go ahead and pour your liquid in there. You may think you're going to get to a point where you're putting too much liquid. Keep putting all the recipe you have for your liquid. Put everything in there. It'll eventually absorb. So you're gonna go ahead and you can either do this one or two ways. You can either pour it all on top just like that, or you can get a measuring cup and then just pour it on top just like that. You're gonna wanna make sure you use all of the liquid. Like I told you, there's gonna get to a point where you feel like you've kind of drowned the bread way too much. Keep filling it all. You're also gonna see it here on the edge, the way you're seeing it. That's perfectly fine. Keep filling it, because it'll eventually absorb. For this size pan and the amount of bread that I'm using, this is the perfect amount of liquid to use on top. All right, now that I have it all completely in there, I'm gonna go ahead and stick this into the fridge. I'm gonna let it set for about 2 to 3 hours. I'm gonna let it really absorb. It's gonna cool down the bread even more because of the liquid, and it's gonna absorb everything. So all of this extra liquid that's on the sides is gonna absorb into the bread. We're gonna go ahead and work on that topping, and then we'll see what those reveal shots. All right, so let's go ahead and make our topping. I do my topping a lot different than a lot of people. You can go ahead and use regular whipping cream when you whip it up yourself. You can go ahead and use this ready whip. You can use a Cool Whip that comes in the bucket, and then you can kind of place that on top. There is different ways of doing it. I myself like to use the Ready Whip. I just think it's a little bit more sweeter. It's a little bit less of a mess that you're going to be making. The cool thing that I do that's a little bit different than anybody else that I kind of learned throughout the years is the topping. Yes, the cake is pretty sweet, but I think what makes this tres leches cake is the condensed milk 100%. So what I like to do is I'll go ahead and get a Ready Whip, and I'll grab a brand new one, and what I'll do is I'll empty a good amount of this into my bowl, and I'll put about half of this into my Ready Whip, and then I'll go ahead and mix that up, and I'll use that as my topping on top of my tres leches cake. So it gives it that extra little bit of condensed milk flavor. And then you're welcome to put as many toppings as you like. You can put some strawberries, you can put vanilla wafer cookies, a little bit of shredded chocolate, some chocolate chips even, if you like that extra little bit of flavor. Or you can even drizzle some caramel on there, some chocolate, or even some more condensed milk right on top. Go ahead and do whatever you like. So let's go ahead and make the topping. I'm gonna go ahead and pour as much as I can out of this thing into the bowl. Again, I do like to use this, one, because it's simple, and two, because it is a little bit sweeter than the average Cool Whip or the whipping cream that I would use. And then I'm going to add about half to 3/4 of my sweetened condensed milk into my Ready Whip here. Add a little bit more. Okay, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to kind of fold it, mix it into this bowl here. I myself like a nice smooth topping. I don't really care for the airiness of a topping like Cool Whip would do. So I do kind of like to deflate my topping here. Everyone likes it differently. You're more than welcome to do whatever topping you like. I'm just showing you what is a popular recipe of mine and how you can kind of alter it on your own. Alrighty, once we have our topping here, we're gonna go ahead and take our tres leches cake out of the fridge. Alrighty, now that we have our cake here, you can see that the milk has pretty been well absorbed. It still needs a little bit more. That's okay. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and put my topping on top. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and spread it evenly on my whole cake here. Again, like I told you, I personally don't like a really thick topping. I just kind of like to give it a nice glaze. You're more than welcome to do it however you like. The cool thing about doing something like this, where it's not such a heavy topping, is once you put it into the fridge, it's gonna still thicken up a little bit. It's gonna kind of come together. That's exactly what I like. I don't like a really big topping because I like to focus myself more on the cake itself than the topping. Alrighty, so there it is. It is nice and done. We have our nice topping on there. So again, you can do multiple different things. You can put some chocolate chips on there. You can put anything you really like. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut a piece and we'll see what those reveal shots look like. Hope you guys really enjoyed this quick recipe. Let me know if you did it, show some pictures, and we'll see you next week for next week's recipe. Have a good one, guys, and good luck going back to school.